Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to share 6 conversation hacks with you that will improve your level of influence, make you more likable, and just all around make you feel good. So let's get started. Number 1. Nod your head while asking a question. Psychologists call this the Sullivan's nod. You see, whenever we nod while asking a question, it increases the chance that the other person will agree with you. How does this work exactly? Well, you see, when we're having a conversation with someone, we tend to copy their behavior. This is called mirroring. There are many reasons why we do this, but a big reason is that since we are social animals, we naturally mimic other people in order to build a connection with them. So when we nod during a conversation, the other person would naturally feel inclined to nod as well. A lot of the time they don't actually do it, but your nod is still being registered in their subconscious mind. That's where the second part comes into play. You might have heard in the past that not only do our feelings influence our actions actually influence our feelings as well. For example, when we force ourselves to smile, we actually feel happier because our brain backwards rationalizes and says, "Oh, you're smiling. You must be happy." And then boom, it releases hormones that actually make us happier. So whenever someone nods, we subconsciously feel inclined to nod as well, and as a result, we're more likely to agree with whatever is being said. Bizarre, isn't it? So the next time you make a suggestion or ask someone a question, nod while you do it. Number 2, people remember unfinished things better. People have a natural tendency to remember things that are not completed. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. A great way to use this to your advantage would be to start talking about something else before the current conversation ends. It might sound weird on paper, but in reality, it happens naturally all the time. Imagine you and a good friend are at a restaurant. The conversation doesn't flow in a logical fashion. Usually someone would remember something midway through the conversation and start talking about that. "Oh, Brad told me last week to remind you to send out the invitations." "Oh yeah, how's Brad by the way?" And then the waiter comes with the entree and all of a sudden you start talking about that. "Wow, the lobster here is a lot bigger than I remember. Smells so good." Great communicators know this effect and they naturally stack multiple conversations over one another. It's great if you want to build a connection with someone really quickly, whether it's for a business lead or just anyone really, because it makes it seem like the two of you have a lot to talk about. There are a lot of other ways to use the Zeigarnik effect, and it's only limited by your creativity. Number 3, use the power of silence. I mentioned before that silence is a great way to get a girl to invest in the interaction, which will make her like you more. But its power goes way beyond just dating. Silence puts pressure on the other person to say something more or to elaborate on what they're already saying. I was at a really cool restaurant with my girlfriend last week where we ate in a completely dark room. We were sat at a table across from each other, and since it was pitch black in there, it was hard to feel where she was. I would prefer it if she sat next to me, so I asked our waiter if I could move. She said, "Oh, we don't usually do that." So I told her that it's just that my girlfriend seems so far away, and I wouldn't really enjoy the dinner because it just seems like I'm eating by myself. And she just said, "Oh, we don't usually do that" once again, so I decided to say, and then I waited. 5 seconds of silence later, she said, "Okay, you can sit beside her, but we don't usually do this." To be honest, I didn't use silence on purpose there, but it's just an example of how silence can really help you in certain situations. So the next time you want someone to elaborate or just to put pressure on them to talk more, then just add some silence. Number 4, replace the word you with we. In a lot of cases, we could replace the word you with we. Just like now, I could have said in a lot of cases you could replace, but I said we could replace instead. That's because the word you is considered rude. So whenever it makes sense to use both we and you, choose we. Even in cases where using you makes more logical sense, using we is still the better choice. For example, if you're suggesting that the accountant on your team should double check a document before filing it, even though it would make more sense to say you should double check the document because it's the accountant that will be doing it as opposed to being a group effort, it's still better to say we should double check the document. Number 5, in my opinion. If there's one thing I learned through years of interacting with people, it's that everyone has an opinion. And a lot of the times, even when the facts are there, most people tend to stick to their opinions and become defensive. So it's important to ask yourselves the question, which do we value more? Our relationship with the other person or being right? Because usually it's one or the other. People don't like it when others prove them wrong, even if they really are wrong. I've read a few books on marriage and relationships, and even though it's not the top 3 reasons for divorce, it's still somewhere up there. So always remember to ask yourself, do you value being right more or your relationship? However, there is a way to voice your opinion without offending the other person. It is to start off by telling everyone that it's just your own opinion and you might be wrong. For example, this is just what I think, but blah 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 blah. I might be wrong, but blah 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 blah. This is sort of the opposite of being polarizing, which I mentioned in another video. Being polarizing means to have a strong opinion about something, which is good in certain situations like presidential campaigns and other leadership positions. But in everyday conversations, the in my opinion conversation hack will make you more likable. Just think Donald Trump. He is very polarizing, and while many people love him, he has many haters as well, and that's the downside. Number 6. Open your hands and point with your palms up. While communicating, always make sure your hands are visible. Placing hands in your pockets or somewhere where it cannot be seen creates distrust, whereas showing the palms of your hands creates trust. To take it a step further, whenever you have to show someone where something is, open your hands and point with your palms facing upwards and with your whole hand as opposed to with one finger. Those were the 6 conversation hacks. That's all for now. I hope you learned something, and if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and click subscribe to see new videos right when they come out. See ya!